They say the smallest spark can start the biggest fire. In our quiet, perfectly manicured neighborhood, that spark came in the form of a backyard fence, painted bright blue. At first, it seemed harmless. The homeowner, a cheerful man named Daniel Carter, had grown tired of staring at the dull beige fence that matched every other property on the block. After years of living under rules and regulations, he finally decided to add a little personality to his space. A trip to the hardware store, a few gallons of sky blue paint, and a weekend of labor later, his fence gleamed like a slice of summer sky cutting through the monotony. Neighbors noticed right away. Kids walking home from school slowed down to look. Families passing by on their evening strolls pointed and whispered. Some smiled, delighted by the splash of color in a sea of sameness. Others frowned, muttering about rules being rules. And then came the inevitable, a neatly folded letter from the HOA taped to Daniel's front door. It was short, sharp, and cold. Your fence is in violation of HOA standards. All exterior fences must remain in the approved color beige. Repaint immediately or face fines and legal action. To Daniel, it felt absurd. "It's my fence, my yard. Why can't I choose my own color?" he muttered, shaking his head. He wasn't trying to rebel or make a statement. He simply wanted to brighten up his backyard and break free from the monotony. But to the HOA, it was never just about paint. It was about control. And in that clash between individuality and conformity, a storm was about to form over the neighborhood, one that no one could have predicted. The HOA wasted no time escalating. By the end of the week, Daniel had received 3 more letters, each more aggressive than the last. The board demanded daily fines, warning that legal action was imminent. HOA President Linda Garrison, a woman with a sharp blonde bob and a reputation for enforcing rules to the letter, took it upon herself to personally handle the blue fence problem. She showed up at Daniel's property one afternoon, clipboard in hand, pearl earrings glinting in the sun. "Mr. Carter," she said, her voice crisp and devoid of warmth, "your fence is an eyesore. It breaks uniformity and lowers property values. You have 72 hours to repaint it beige." Daniel stood firm, arms crossed. "It's paint, Linda. It doesn't hurt anyone. Property values don't drop because of a little color. If anything, the neighborhood could use more of it." Her eyes narrowed. "Rules are rules. This isn't about what you want. It's about what's best for the community." The tension between them was palpable. Word of the confrontation spread quickly through the neighborhood grapevine. By evening, the entire street was buzzing about the blue fence incident. Some homeowners whispered their agreement with Linda. He knew the rules when he moved here. It's his fault. Others sided with Daniel, quietly cheering his defiance. Finally, someone had the guts to stand up to the HOA. Then came the turning point. One evening, under the cover of darkness, Daniel's next-door neighbor, a young couple with 2 kids, crept into their backyard with a can of forest green paint. By morning, their fence stood boldly against the beige backdrop. The act was quiet, but it spoke louder than words. Daniel wasn't alone anymore. Over the next few nights, the rebellion spread. A fence down the block turned crimson red. Another family went with sunny yellow. Someone added purple stripes. By the end of the week, half the street had transformed into a rainbow of defiance. Linda was livid. She stormed through the neighborhood like a general inspecting her troops, snapping pictures, scribbling violations, and shouting at anyone who dared to make eye contact. "This is anarchy," she fumed during one HOA meeting. "We are losing control of our neighborhood." But what she didn't realize was that control was exactly what the neighbors were taking back. What started as one man's decision to paint his fence had erupted into a full-blown movement. By midsummer, the neighborhood was unrecognizable. Fences in bold blues, reds, and yellows stood proudly where beige once reigned supreme. Some families even got creative, adding murals of flowers, mountains, and even cartoon characters. Mailboxes were repainted to match. Window shutters turned pastel. Garden gnomes appeared in neon colors, lined up like tiny soldiers of resistance. For the first time in years, neighbors were talking, laughing, and connecting, not because of HOA events, but because of their shared rebellion. Barbecues turned into planning meetings where people swapped paint cans like contraband, and whispered strategies for avoiding HOA patrols. Kids helped decorate, proud of their role in this new era of neighborhood freedom. And all the while, Linda Garrison's fury grew. She doubled the fines. She sent cease and desist letters by certified mail. She called emergency board meetings, demanding unanimous support to sue homeowners into compliance. But the more pressure she applied, the more united the neighbors became. At one particularly heated HOA meeting, Daniel stood up in front of the crowd, his voice steady but full of passion. "Look around you," he said. "For years, this place has been lifeless. Every lawn the same, every house the same, every fence the same. But now we've got color, energy, personality. People are happy. They're proud of their homes again. Isn't that what a community is supposed to be about?" The room erupted in applause. Even those who once feared the HOA found their courage. The tide was turning, and Linda knew it. Desperate, she tried one last tactic, threatening to sue not just individuals, but the entire neighborhood association as a whole. But at this point, the HOA board itself was crumbling. Several members resigned, unwilling to carry out Linda's vendetta. Others began to openly question whether the rules needed changing. The rebellion had grown too big to contain. The HOA was losing its grip. After weeks of shouting matches, legal threats, and endless tension, the HOA finally caved. Linda was voted out as president in a fiery meeting that ended with her storming out, red-faced and muttering about ungrateful neighbors. In her place, a new president was elected, one who believed in balance, not blind conformity. The board drafted new guidelines, allowing homeowners the freedom to choose colors for fences, shutters, and accents, as long as they weren't offensive or extreme. Beige was no longer the law of the land, it was just an option among many. Daniel kept his bright blue fence. His neighbors kept their reds, yellows, and greens. Over time, the neighborhood transformed from a cookie-cutter suburb into a vibrant, colorful patchwork of individuality. Strangely enough, instead of lowering property values, the rebellion boosted them. Families from outside the community started moving in, drawn to the lively artistic charm of the area. And as for the neighbors themselves, something had shifted. They weren't just strangers living side by side anymore. They had gone through a battle together, fought for one another, and built a stronger community in the process. The fences still divided their yards, but the colors connected their spirits. Daniel often joked that he never set out to start a revolution. He just wanted a blue fence. But sometimes the smallest acts of defiance ripple out to change everything. And in this neighborhood, that little splash of blue had rewritten the rules forever.